Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be continuing the top 100 board games of all time list with numbers 70 through 61, the 2023 edition. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. And for those of you already subscribed, thank you so much for the continuous support. Let's talk about the best board games of all time. Starting with number 70, number 31 last year, we have Kingdom Death Monster. This is a large campaign-based game where you play as a settlement of survivors trying to fight the darkness. You'll be going through a hunt phase where you try to find your quarry, and once you meet with the thing you're hunting, you're going to take it down in a boss battling fight. After you defeat it, you'll be able to take all of its body parts and everything that you found during your hunt and bring it back to your settlement to create new innovations, new gear, and then hopefully build up your settlement to take on harder foes, as well as the nemesis creatures that are going to be coming to destroy your settlement. There's a lot of mechanisms I love from this game, but one thing that I haven't talked about on this channel yet is the disorder and fighting art system. As you're playing the game, you'll get into key story moments. Maybe your characters age up, or they discover something, or they watch how a creature moves, and they'll learn fighting arts, which means that they have now a special ability that they'll add to their other effects that they can use during combat. And so you can gather up to 3 of these at a time, and you're constantly learning these, and you're able to replace it and make your survivors their own custom unique characters. But that is specific to that survivor, which means if you play with a new character, they're going to have to learn new fighting arts. And you can have this interesting mix and match of your different survivors and different combinations, and there's even ways that you can reteach fighting arts to your settlement if you find one that you like in particular. And on the flip side of that, there are disorder cards, where maybe your brain snaps or you go insane or something, and you'll now have a permanent negative condition on that survivor. And this is going to be something like honorable here, where you're never allowed to attack the monster in its blind spot, or maybe you have a obsession with insects, and if there's one on the board, you have to race and get it before you can do anything else. I love this because it adds this flavor and personality to the different characters in the game and brings about the world even further. There's flavor text on the cards as well, and artwork accompanying the fighting arts. Amazing integration of theme as well as new novel mechanics that work in the system. That's my number 70, that is Kingdom Death Monster. My number 69, 98 last year, goes to Blood Bowl Team Manager, the card game. This is a lane battling game that is fantasy football, and I mean that in a literal sense. You're going to be playing football with fantasy creatures. This is set in the Warhammer universe, so you have orcs and goblins and vampires and these disgusting like plague creatures. Every single team has their own unique identity and special abilities that they like to use, and you'll be playing them into these different lanes to try to win those matchups. You're trying to get the most fans, and you do that by winning matchups, but you'll also be winning different upgrades for your team in the form of players or in the form of special abilities and powers that you can use later rounds in the game. Now, my favorite part about this game, though, are the icons in the game. When you play a card, you get to use the icons on the cards. For example, if you play the Beastman here, you're going to get to cheat and you get to tackle. But one icon I want to talk about in particular is that cheat icon. This is an icon that brings a token from an outside area, and on the back of it, it has the potential for a lot of different things. You've got the potential for extra strength. You've got the potential for just straight up points. Fans, they liked what you did back there and that you got away with it. Or you could get caught by the referee if you dive into the cheating pool and even get booted from the match. You might get booted, you might get a penalty card. There's a lot of things that can happen if you decide to tap into the cheating factor, and there's some of the factions that really lean into this, or there are some characters that just completely give you the option, so you can choose whether or not to interact with this. I love that there's this randomness added, and you're trying to look at your risks, the odds, and you're calculating it. They have a set number of each of the tokens, so every time you get a cheat token, you know exactly what you're playing into, and there are even characters that can manipulate those odds. You can look at the cheating tokens, switch them around, and that adds to the mind games. Oh, a lot of fun things here, and that's just one of the icons with the cheat symbol. So that is my number 69, number 98 last year, Blood Bowl Team Manager. Next up, 68, we have Fleet the Dice Game. My number 55 last year, this is a roll and write game where you play as a fleet of fishing ships. You're going to take your ships out through a dice drafting system and collect fish, giving you special powers, abilities, and boats to catch fish, and then you'll go into the harbor phase where you're able to build these different things around your wharf, more boats and ships there, special powers and abilities, or take all the fish that you've collected to market for bonus actions. Now, this is a combo-centric roll and write game, so whenever you mark off something, you're going to get a special ability of some sort. You'll be collecting coins and income that get you the ability to mark anywhere on your sheet. But my favorite thing about this game has to be the different fish tracks that you'll be going up on. As you can see, there's shrimp, cod, lobster, swordfish, oyster, king crab. All of these have their their own bonuses as you tick up their tracks. For example, if you go up on the swordfish here, after you fish every time, you get a bonus action. The lobster gets you income. The cod rewards you for just putting out ships by rewarding you more coins. The shrimp lets you get wild. The oyster lets you fish for money, and the king crab gets you endgame scoring. And it's up to you which of these you want to go down. You can go down all of them if you want and get this lower ability, but if you choose to invest in one further, you get further advanced forms of those effects, plus even more endgame scoring points. This is such a cool choice because you're at the mercy of those dice you're drafting, but because you get so many bonus actions, you can customize your experience, whatever you are planning to do that game. I love the COD strategy as it benefits you from putting out boats, which is how you score a lot of points in this game, and it even works on some of these in the harbor here. A lot of choices with the different tracks, a lot of fun. That is number 68, Fleet the Dice Game. My number 67, number 53 last year, is Micro Macro Crime City. This is a combination of a mystery-solving game with Where's Waldo. You'll have a giant map and a magnifying glass, and you'll be looking all over Crime City here for, well, crimes. So you can see there's a mugging on the street, but everything is put on this board, and you can actually follow people in the map to see their progress through time, to see what they've been up to help you solve the case. But my favorite part about this game, though, is the way it's structured through the use of these prompt cards, these questions that are going to lead you to actually solving whatever your mission's case is. You're trying to get to some conclusion. For example, here there's been a car accident, so you have to find the accident, and once you've done so, you'll flip the card over, it'll check if you're right, and then you'll proceed with the mission. We love this game so much that we framed a copy of it. You put it on the wall and have a stack of cards there as well, so that way you can have the missions and just start playing as you're looking. It's a great time filler for people who are just coming in and trying to do something quick, or you can spend an entire evening going from mission to mission as you learn about Crime City and get to know the map through these missions. So that is my number 67, Micro Macro Crime City. My number 66, number 99 last year, is 5 Minute Marvel. This is a cooperative real-time game of card matching, as all players will have a deck of cards with symbols on them, and you'll be throwing them into the middle of your area here, trying to match the symbols on the enemies. Once you get through that entire deck, you'll have a giant boss to finish, you'll throw out your symbols and try to make the matches, while you're trying to manage your deck of cards, because if you run out of cards, you can no longer defeat those enemies. So it's all about time management, cooperation, coordination, as everybody's trying to figure out who's playing what card, but also trying to stay within that 5-minute time limit. Now, my favorite part about this game, though, are the custom decks for the different superheroes that are exclusive to this 5-Minute Marvel one. They're all after the Marvel characters. For example, you got Squirrel Girl here. She'll have a deck of Squirrel Girl cards, and every round when you draw cards, you can decide to draw them from the central pool or from your own special deck. As you can see, you have lots of cards with different abilities that are relating to Squirrel Girl, like Tippy Toe here. Defeat any card with a squirrel on it, which means you have a new minigame that you're playing that nobody else is. And then you'll also have lots of these cards that have dual symbols, so trying to play those as efficiently as possible with your other cards, and then you also have an ability that's printed on your character that's unique to you. 5-Minute Marvel integrates the Marvel theme into a framework that works brilliantly for cooperative play. So that is my number 66, 5-Minute Marvel. My number 65 goes to Wits and Wagers. This version is the It's Vegas Baby version. It's a trivia game about betting, where you don't actually have to be good at trivia, and I think that's one of the things that makes it shine. On your turn, you're going to be given a question, and everybody is going to write down their answer to this question in a numerical value. You'll put it on the board here and organize them based on their values, lowest to highest. And then you'll take your betting chips, as well as any other money you want to put, slide it under, and place bets on what you think is actually the correct answer. You can put it straight on whatever you think it is. You can bet on only black or all the reds. You can predict that all the guesses were too high, or you can try to be you can spread out your bids so that you get a higher chance of getting some return at least. There's a lot of different betting options, but my favorite part about this game is actually the questions themselves. The way that they're written means that they are timeless, and if they do have a time associated to them, it'll actually say on the card when they were taken from. For example here, how many times does Paul McCartney sing the phrase "Let It Be" in the Beatles song "Let It Be"? Go figure, we have a bunch already. But that is a question that will never age out. Everyone will have to think, ooh, what is that? And they'll start talking and discussing, and then after you reveal on the back of these cards, they'll give you a blurb with the answer, as well as some history behind it, some fun facts, and all of these questions are like that. And they're so, not vague, but they're so interesting, and not something that you would remember specifically, that when it's been several times, and you've gone through the deck of cards and they come back out, you're not going to remember what that value is. And if you do, if your memory is that amazing, then there are two sides to pick from, but there are also lots of expansion packs you can get for new questions if this is something that you find yourself playing an absurd amount of times where you'll need that. I love the questions and the way they're written and how approachable they are to everyone. That is my number 65, Wits and Wagers. It's Vegas, baby. Number 64 last year. My number 64, number 56 last year, is Warp's Edge. This is a solo bag building game where it's plug and play in nature. You'll pick a ship, you'll pick a boss, and then you'll smash those together and try to defeat a horde of alien ships, as well as that gigantic boss ship. You're going to do this through bag building. You'll pull your chips, use lasers to blast things down, dodge to move around, energy to buy new chips from your bag, and you'll have all of these different special chips that are unique to your fighter. So it's a different mixture of them, and then one that is your trademark that you'll actually start with one in your bag, and you'll use those to repel these terrible forces. Now, my favorite part about this game, though, is the namesake, the warp. Every single time you run out of tiles in your bag, these chips, then you're going to have to reset the game, basically. Now, when I say reset the game, I'm just talking about the enemies as well as your bag. So it's a reshuffle of everything. Now, after you've done that, you'll repopulate the board with his enemies. You'll start drawing from your bag again, but everything else that you've done is saved. So all the progress, all the chips you've bought, all the chips you've purged from your bag, the upgrades, the abilities, the damage that's been done to the boss, that will stick. So it's all about timing when you're able to do that refresh, and you'll only have so many warps in that round, so you have to plan them properly. I love the timing of this and the way that it incorporates that upgrade and culling system of bag building or deck building, that kind of genre, and I think it's done brilliantly here. The asymmetric nature of the different ships as well as the bosses make this one that you're going to come back to quite a bit. So that is my number 64, Warp's Edge. Number 63 goes to Hostage Negotiator. And this one I'm showing here is Crime Wave because this is the box that I recommend that you get. I think the cards are a bit more interesting and so are the bosses, but the game itself has you playing as a hostage negotiator. You're trying to save as many people as possible as well as capture the abductor or eliminate them if you have to. You'll be using action cards to resolve these dice checks, and those will allow you to potentially calm down this abductor as well as rescue as many people as possible. You're going to be using your cards to generate currency or set up big turns where you're able to make big plays and also react to whatever this abductor is trying to do. And my favorite thing about this game is also an expansion to this game, and that is the Hostage Negotiator career experience. What this does is it takes all of the content from Hostage Negotiator and puts it into a giant story, a timeline that you'll follow. You'll draw one of these career cards that will tell you what's happening in your time at the police force. You'll have a personal life, problems that will happen after your negotiations, and every single thing that you're doing is trying to save as many people as possible. I love that this pushed the pressure on that, and that's your main goal, not just winning the single abductor at whatever the cost, but your goal is to save as many people as possible because that will propel you into the very end of this experience. It's a noble goal, and it gives you this feeling of working through one of these shows like Criminal Minds or CSI, as these big life events will happen, and you also have to adapt to those while still doing your job as the hostage negotiator. It brilliantly combines the expansions into thematic approaches. It scales them based on the difficulty and brings them in. It gives you ways to upgrade your cards and your abilities. Hostage Negotiator is a true marvel at expansion integration and an amazing solo experience, period. That's my number 63. Number 52 last year, Hostage Negotiator. My number 62 goes to Spicy. This is a bluffing card game, very similar to the vein of BS, as you're trying to throw your cards in a center pile and get rid of all of the ones in your hand by going in a sequence. So if you got a 1, you got to play higher than a 1. If you make it back to 10, then you got to reset to a 1 of the same color. However, everybody can say, hey, you're a liar at any point in the game, and they have to call you out specifically on what you lied about, whether it be the color or whether it be the number. And if they're right, they're going to collect all the cards in the center as points, but if they're wrong, they've got to draw some penalty cards. Now, this game's strength is its engagement factor as well as its pacing and also its encouragement of getting you to lie. Every player is always engaged as they can call at any time. And when you're playing cards, the speed at which you're playing cards can be a big factor in whether or not you look guilty, or just the fact that somebody to the left of you will play right on top of your card, keeping it out of your hand. This means that you're always playing, always looking at what's happening and invested in what's going on. And the twist of this is you are encouraged to lie, because if you lie, there's always a chance that you're going to get away with it, because you could get away with it by just having the same color and being totally off on the number, or you can bluff everything completely just to get things out of your hand. I love this experience, just how engaging it is. It's my favorite in this type of card game. That is number 62, Spicy. And closing off this portion of the list, my number 61 goes to Arc Nova. New to the list, this has you playing as zookeepers. You'll be creating this zoo in front of you, making enclosures and filling them with animals. You'll also be able to participate in conservation projects, all fueled through this action card system at the bottom here. Now, my favorite part about this game, though, is that action card system. Every turn, you're going to be sliding one of these cards down, triggering its effect, and then moving it to the end of the line, and everything else will slide down. So it's about timing and planning on when you want to activate these actions to get them shuffling around, because their strength depends on how far to the right they are. In addition, you can upgrade these cards, which means they're going to have new and improved effects, and you only get to upgrade a couple of them, though, during the game. So you have to prioritize which cards you want to upgrade based on the cards that you've collected and the strategy that you're pursuing, because each has their own special benefits, and they are strong, and so they're going to be cards that you're going to want to activate a lot. It's a satisfying, gratifying system as you are constantly getting cards, figuring out how to use them, trying to get them played, while also managing this action system at the bottom of your board. It's a gratifying experience from start to finish. This is Arc Nova, my number 61. And that's it. That's this section of the list, number 70 through 61. Let's go to the end of the video now, where we'll talk about a reflection. So first off, we have two new games to the list. That's Arc Nova and Spicy, and I think they're well deserved. I think that Spicy has become my go-to small bluffing game. It's replaced things like Cockroach Poker and Skull. It's so good. The pacing is amazing, and the sensation and the line, the fact that it pushes you constantly, it's awesome. It's also beautiful. It's got this great artwork, and there's like a holographic backing to it. The entire package is there. You gotta give Spicy a try if you can't. If you haven't played it yet, you gotta try this one. Amazing game. The other things that were new to the list, Arc Nova. Once again, this is one of the most popular games that come out in the last couple of years, and it's well deserved. It is a satisfying experience. That action system is perfect, and it works well with the theme. I like the little touches on a lot of the cards where the effects will match sort of what the animal is doing, like the alligator snaps, the monkeys will jump. You've got these sponsor cards as well that have the most interesting effects, I think, where you're even able to place these special tiles that have restrictions based on, maybe it's a zip line, so you got to put it between two different mountains so that you can go through those. Stuff like that. I think there's a lot of fun thematic things going on here. I also want to talk about the games that had pretty significant drops, starting with Kingdom Death Monster, going from 31 to 70, and I think that just has to do with my attitude on campaign games in general. They need to be something that you can finish in a reasonable amount of time to be super high on my list. I think that's where I'm coming from right now. And Kingdom Death Monster, I just finished a campaign of this, but it did take me about 2.5 years to do so. Finally won one, but I think that's the big reason it dropped so much, but it is on my top 100, which means it is one of the better ones. I think it's got one of the best streamlined campaign systems, period, for this large settlement building, boss battling style. I think it's my favorite in that genre. Kingdom Death was really the only big drop here, but we had a lot of games that moved pretty high in the ranks here. So Blood Bowl Team Manager was one of those, being number 98 last year and coming all the way down to 69. I think that has to do with the incorporation of the expansions and getting to actually play the different factions. When I originally played this, I played a friend's copy, but we got all the content since, and now that we've played all of the expansion content, this has been one that has just continued to impress. There's one expansion in particular that adds these ball tokens, and they change up the balls that you're going to be passing around in the center of these that the original had, and they give you new abilities and powers, which bolsters some of the factions that focused on that ball combat. And so I thought that was one of the weaker parts in the original one, but now that they've changed things up, I think it's so much more fun. So that is the first big mover with Blood Bowl Team Manager. The other big jump right here from 99 to 66 was 5 Minute Marvel, and this game is the real deal. I'm telling you, if you have not tried this one and you like real-time experiences or cooperative card play, this is one you gotta give a try. It does exactly what it tries to do in a 10-minute package: 5-minute playtime, 2-minute teach, and then 2 minutes cleanup as you're collecting the cards, and then you're ready to go. It's amazing. This game is so good. And the fact that the pressure is coming from the cooperation versus the time, because the more you speak, the more time that you're running out. So you're just throwing out cards, and that's sort of what's actually keeping you from preserving and your resources that you'll need for that final boss. It's amazing. It comes from that players, that pressure and tension, plus the cards that are showing and the use of your special powers and abilities. And each player is worried about their thing, so there's no quarterbacking, and you have those special powers from the different Marvel characters characters that give you variability, plus your team composition. What an amazing game. You gotta give this one a try. It's super cheap. It's like $10, $15. We got our copy for $5 at a Barnes & Noble. It's amazing. This game is great. You need to give this one a try. That is number 99 last year, 66 this year. This is a 5-minute marvel. And that's where we're going to go ahead and end this portion of the list. That was numbers 70 through 61. I'm curious what you thought of this chunk. We're getting into the 9s now. We just finished up the 8s, starting with Fleet the Dice game being our first 9. I am so thrilled to share these games with you, and I'm curious to hear what you think about them, and what are your numbers 70 through 61 in your own lists. Thank you so much for watching SideGame Strong.